Thanks for tuning into the Urban Scope podcast. On this section, we'll be talking about comments that Tim Hardaway made in relations to Jimmy Butler kind of wearing out his welcome with the Miami Heat and Pat Riley. So Pat Riley, a couple months, well, later towards probably a couple months back, he made a comment about Jimmy Butler because Jimmy Butler made a comment about if he was still playing and he didn't get hurt last year, he would have defeated all the teams in the playoffs. And he said, basically, paraphrasing, he said, if the Knicks, we would have definitely beat the Knicks. No, we would have beat the Knicks, and we would have definitely beat the Knicks, and we would have beat the Celtics. So when the media asked Pat Riley what he thought about those comments, Pat Riley said that Jimmy needs to just shut up and play, and basically, he didn't beat those teams this year, and he has no right basically to say these things. So there's a couple of different ways you can look at Pat Riley's statements. So I looked at it from first the standpoint is, was Jimmy Butler telling the truth? Now, Jimmy Butler has a long history of um, being an overachiever as far as basketball goes. He was drafted late in the first round out of Marquette. We are Marquette Nation, stand up. Um, and he has a history of being an outcast and being an outspoken leader. He's the closest thing as a leader we have. Well, closest leader we have closest to Michael Jordan. He's very outspoken. He'll tell you how he feels. He'll stand out on his own. He doesn't care what anybody says. And most importantly, he'll play, he won't give up. He plays to the end. And that was relevant and comparison to the bubble championship or the bubble tournament when they played the Lakers in the championship. There's a famous photo of him, being slumped over because he was dead tired in that game. He had put in, I believe, 40 points that game. He had played 40 plus minutes, and he was just exhausted. The team that he had, the teams that he always has, at least with Miami, they overachieve because they have Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is one of the best players in the league, most underrated players, I think, in the league, similar to Draymond Green. Draymond Green is one of my favorite players also. So when you think about it, Jimmy Butler, you're like, oh, okay, his teams are not going to do well because historically in the regular season they don't play well. They sneak into the playoffs, but when they get to the playoffs, you don't want to see a Jimmy Butler. No matter who he has on his team, he's going to succeed. He's going to overachieve. So I think he was telling the truth. And I believe he would, Pat Riley said maybe he was trolling. I don't think Jimmy Butler was trolling when he made these comments. Jimmy Butler is firm in his belief. He believes what he believes, and nobody can tell him otherwise. And he'll go out there and prove it. And it's been proven he has done that throughout his career. So I think there's a lack of respect for Jimmy Butler when it comes to Pat Riley. Pat Riley has a history of doing these type things, dating all the way back to the Big Three with LeBron, Bosh, and Wade. LeBron, there's been reports that LeBron left Miami for the simple fact that Pat Riley didn't capitulate to his demands. LeBron has a team of people and he wants them on the plane. He wants them at the games. He wants them at, these different events. And Pat Riley's like, this is my team. I control what I want to do, and I'm not going to, be, just capitulate to anybody. These are my rules. So, that's cool and everything. But at the same time, he's not the team owner. He's just the GM, for one. And then the second thing is he doesn't realize that it's a players' league now. Back when he was coaching the Lakers, it was more of an owners' league. The owners had the power; they could trade you as they please. Now players have no trade clauses. They have more influence. If a player say he doesn't want to play for that team, it's more than likely he's going to get traded that year or at some point. No matter if he's in the first year of a 10-year deal, he can get out of that contract because they have that much power. So Pat Riley, it hasn't changed with the times, and he's more of a show me and don't tell me type of guy. But when you look at what Jimmy Butler's done for that team, despite the lack of help that they've given him, I think he's deserving to say what he wants to say and not be scolded by his GM for it. Like I said, we all respect Pat Riley for what he's done for the game, but at the same time, you have to change with the times. Like I know I always talk about Nick Saban and how he was, disgusted with how the league is with NCAA and NIL, but you have to adjust with the times. Nobody said anything when he was getting the number one draft classes every year. Nobody said, well, we need to make rules to make this recruiting thing fair. Everybody else just adjusted and they was able to succeed despite this. So I think, Pat Riley has to change with the times. And I look back at that 2003 championship team, runner-up championship team that they had, that the Miami Heat had when they faced the Denver Nuggets. Jimmy Butler dragged that team all the way to the championship, to the NBA championship, and he had 4 undrafted players who contributed heavy minutes and were heavy contributors in that series. So he had Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, and Caleb Martin, all contributing heavy minutes, and he was able to take that team that far. Now, you can say that, well, Pat Riley found all this talent that was undrafted, and it helped Jimmy Butler. But you can look at it the other way as well. How many GMs or teams are signing undrafted players and making it to a championship team? There's not a lot of data on that because it doesn't happen much. Most of the time, you got first rounders, lottery picks, so first top 15 picks on your team. But Jimmy Butler's never had that. But when you look at his career, and I'm not trying to make an excuse for him because he is Marquette, but he never had a star that was in his prime or reached his prime yet that he played with. When you think about it, when he was in Minnesota, he had Karl Anthony Towns and he had Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins hadn't come into his own yet. Karl Anthony Towns was still young and still developing. So, and he was tough on them, and he was tough on all his even with the 76ers, he had Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, and Ben Simmons never reached his full potential. But if he had the Joel Embiid of today, he would have pushed. I believe he would have pushed Joel Embiid to be healthier, to be slimmer, to be even a better player. Even though he won the MVP a couple years back, Jimmy Butler would have pushed him to whole new levels. And Joel Embiid has a lot of respect for Jimmy Butler because he knows how hard he plays and how much he loves the game. So, like I said, Jimmy Butler has been. I think he's been in some tough situations, but he made the most out of those tough situations. Growing up from his childhood, he was homeless for a little bit as a kid, due to family issues and stuff like that. He's always been he wasn't recruited heavily out of high school. Had to go to JUCO. Got out of JUCO and went to Marquette, and he was drafted, late in the first round. But if you could redraft that draft, he's probably number 1 pick. He's, like I said, his will to win is unmatched. There are not too many other players that you would pick over Jimmy Butler as far as will to win. He's not the best 3-point shooter. He's not the best rebounder. He's not the best passer. He's what they call not a master of none, skilled trader of all kind of deal. So he can do a little bit of everything. He doesn't master one particular skill except for heart, which you can't coach, you can't teach. It just has to be within your DNA. And he has, like I said, that drive. So Pat Riley has to understand that if you do let Jimmy Butler go, or if you sick of Jimmy Butler, what else can you find? In the past, there's been rumors of Kevin Durant wanted to come to Miami, or they wanted him. Same thing with Dame Lillard. LeBron possibly coming back, and it never amounted to anything because, like I said, Miami has a specific culture that they have, and it's old school. And Pat Riley wants the players to be on a certain amount of body fat, and they have to weigh in every week, and it's just a lot that players have to go through that they don't want to have to deal with, and they can go anywhere else and pretty much have it have their own way and have their own team. But when you're on Miami Heat, you have to deal with Pat Riley, and you have to deal with Alonzo Mourning, Udonis Haslam still in the organization. So there's a lot of pieces that you have to deal with in Miami. You really don't have your own show. But Jimmy Butler showed a lot of heart by going to Miami because he was linked to going to LeBron, going with LeBron and the Lakers, and he was linked to Kawhi and Paul George with the Clippers, and he decided to go his own way. When he made that move, a lot of people was like, wow, man, what is he doing? Like he doesn't have a team around him. And he showed people he made the most out of it, with what he had. And a lot of people respect him for that because he didn't go team up with other people. And he just made his own path. And my last little note is, Pat Riley seemed like he's not appreciative of his players. Because when you think about what happened to Dwayne Wade, now they renamed Dade County to Wade County because Dwayne Wade won 3 championships in that for that organization. He put the organization back on the map, made it relevant again, similar to what Jimmy Butler did post the Big Three era. He made Miami relevant again, especially in the postseason. Every time in the postseason, everyone's like, "Oh, Miami, Miami." Everybody was on that bandwagon, but the way they let Dwayne Wade go to Chicago and let him go to Cleveland, he should have been able to write his own ticket in Miami for what he did for that city and that organization. But like I said, Pat Riley was like, well, I'm not going to pay you this money. Go out and find it somewhere else. But Dwayne Wade has such a big heart, and black people, we're such a forgiving people anyway. He was able to forgive them, and tuck his ego in and be able to come back to the organization despite the wrongdoing that they did towards him. So, so I think Jimmy Butler wasn't false in that narrative, and I think Pat Riley just needs to change with the time and be more appreciative of his players and what he has compared to what he can go out there and get. Because it's hard, good help is hard to find. So I think he kind of lost touch of that over the years. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Urban Scope Podcast.